Okay, so you're the new, I guess new because you haven't fought since then, so you're
Yeah.
still new. It's still brand new.
Yeah, still brand new.
Lightweight champion. Also.
Yeah, fresh out of the box.
Fresh out of the box. Now,
Yeah.
I guess going back, I was there that night. We were just talking about that before we started recording.
Yeah.
When we first saw it, it looked like Chandler was just putting up his hands and maybe protecting against an eye poke. But on the replay, it looked like he was out of it. What were you thinking at the end of that fight?
I was actually thinking the same thing. I thought it was like an eye poke or something because when we were in the scramble and, you know, anything happens, and I just kind of thought the way he was backing up and the way he was kind of like spaced out, I thought he was like maybe he got poked in the eye or something illegal happened. So I've always been taught to be a sportsman, you know, and I was going to give him his time, you know, and then, you know, I don't want to go and attack a guy who's got poked in the eye or something like that. But then after I was looking at him, like it all happened within seconds. After like really looking at him, and then I realized that there was nothing wrong. So I jumped on him, you know. I started realizing, oh no, it was just a punch that phased him, like just knocked him out a little bit, and I just jumped on him. I saw that out of the corner of my eye, I could see the ref wasn't jumping in, or he wasn't doing anything, and he was still in his like position. And I was like, all right, well, you know, it's not my job to stop it. It's his job to do it. So I went for the kill, and it was one of those things where I felt like after the first fight, it was a close fight. You know, that last sequence of when he dropped me in the first fight, I think that was what people really saw. I felt like he should have edged out that round. But when I went back and looked at the first fight overall, I felt like, man, I could have beat that kid in the first fight if I would have just did those extra things in that fight. And so going into that training camp, getting ready for the second fight, I was just thinking, man, I could beat this guy. I know I could beat him. I came very close to beating him the first time. I came very close to finishing him the first time. And like you said, I knew it. I knew what I was going to do. I had decided what I was going to do, and I went out there and did it. And once they raised my hand, it was kind of like not to be egotistical or arrogant or anything, it was kind of like a shoulder shrug. It's like, I don't know, like, I did it. I knew I was going to do it.
Now, before this fight, the last fight, you had a bunch of interesting tweets about Bellator not promoting the fight. Were you generally upset with the promotion? Do you think that you should have got more promotion time?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I've always been taught growing up is when you invest into something, when you put the time in, you go all out. You understand your value and your worth, and maybe you haven't put that work in yet and you haven't earned all of it, but doesn't mean that you can't go out and let people know what you're about and what you're worth, you know. And I think I was just trying to do that, and again, being that I'm brand new at this, I did forget that you do still have to earn it all in order for an organization to back you and get behind you and things like that. And I think prior to Scott Coker stepping in and his new team and the new direction that Bellator is trying to go in, I think a lot of people recognize that things were kind of mixed up with Bellator. There was a little bit of favoritism here and there, and it just kind of got to the point where somebody needed to say something, and I felt like I had earned that opportunity to say something. And again, I understand my worth, I understand my value, and regardless if people appreciate it or agree with it, I know what I'm worth, and I know that nobody's going to make that decision for me. And I felt like maybe somebody in the background was trying to make that decision for me, and I wasn't going to allow it. So I went out and said what I had to say and let people know what I was coming to do.
I've heard from a lot of people, and you can tell me I'm wrong or not, but that you were making incredible improvements every fight, and that you're still adding dimensions to your game. Do you think that's accurate? That you're hitting your peak?
I think so.
Peak, or you're going to get better?
I wouldn't say I'm hitting a peak. I think that's why people have seen me grow so much and so fast, is because I don't believe in having a peak. I don't believe in reaching a ceiling or anything like that. I think as human beings, in regards to anything that we do, we are limitless, you know, and I think I carry that over into what I do as a fighter. So that's helped me out a lot. And the fact that I haven't been around that long. I've only been around for 4 years now, and as a professional doing this for 4 years, and really my first 2 years, after I really sat back and really looked at it, my first 2 years, those are kind of throwaway years for me. You know, I wasn't training at American Top Team. I wasn't training with high level guys. I wasn't training with the coaches that I'm training with and fighting the guys that I'm fighting. So I was kind of just going about my business. But now that I'm putting all these different pieces in place that are helping me get better every single fight, I'm limitless. You know, I'm going to continue to get better. And And now I feel like I'm in a position where even if my training partners change, my coaching staff changed, I know that I'm constantly changing also, and I'm comfortable with that. So it helps me evolve, and I'm always going to get better.
Going forward, I guess, what part of your game do you think do you plan on working on the most? What part of your game do you think you could see the most that you need to see the most improvement on?
I would say my striking, just because I possess a lot of different striking skills and abilities that I haven't put on display yet, because I'm still in that phase where I'm getting comfortable in the cage and getting comfortable with the idea of having to find a plan B to make plan A work. It's just something that we work on at the gym. So I'm still learning, but I think my striking, I want to open it up a little bit more. I think I possess the power and the speed and athleticism to start putting guys out, and finishing fights on the feet. So that's something that I'm really, really focused on, and really looking for more of the dynamic one-punch finishes, like first round, second round, quick finishes, just because I think I possess those skills and those abilities to do that.
What's the one thing you think fans don't understand about the sport that you wish they would understand about mixed martial arts and the sport?
I wish they could understand the details that go into it, the ins and outs, the small pieces, like based off of like not just what you see on the television, but the pieces that happen before that happens, the training that goes in, not just the fighters training, but the people in the office and the producers, all these different things, all these different pieces that move around. I think a lot of fans think that this fight should happen and it should happen this way and people should be making this kind of money and this kind of money, but they don't understand that there's a lot of pieces that have to be put in the right place before that happens, before the fighters are making the millions or making these big bucks and different things like that. So I think that's one thing I would like the fans to really step back and take a bigger look at the big picture and see the big picture, not just the small picture of these guys are matched up, they're supposed to go fight and get paid and do all this. Just step back for a second and appreciate everything that goes into it.
You think that maybe too much of a video game mindset that you guys just show up on the cage and fight?
Yeah.
Think about the years before that you practice wrestling and the months before of training.
Right.
For the
Yeah.
fight,
Just
yeah,
exactly that, and again, like all the production that goes in, all the promoting stuff that goes into it, all the work that's been put in behind the scenes, and understanding that there's a lot, there's a lot of pieces that have to be put in place in order for guys to even go in there and compete, and do our jobs, and for there to be the money there to be able to pay fighters a little bit more and different things like that. So I think I just would like to see the fans be introduced to a little bit more of the details that go into it. And I think Bellator right now is going into that direction where people are going to really get a chance to see the real behind the scenes, not just as far as the fighters go, but as far as production goes, as far as the promoters go, different things like that. So I think that's a really cool thing.
What do you think of the new Bellator? Do you like the new direction?
I love it, man. I think I really enjoy just stepping away from it as a fighter, stepping into it as just a fan of the sport. I think it's really entertaining. I think it's a fresher look at mixed martial arts, and not just the basic format that mixed martial arts has had over the years. They've stepped away from the tournament, which was a new thing at one point. But again, everything is constantly evolving, and I think that's what Bellator and Scott Coker and the whole new staff is doing here with Viacom and Spike TV. They're evolving again. The sport is evolving again, and these guys are right on top of it and stepped in at the right time to take advantage of it. So what they're doing with the big shows and then the smaller shows, and having a bigger production and all the lights and all the stage stuff and the new production. It's a really, really cool thing to be a part of, and I think the timing for me to be here is perfect, and I'm looking forward to it.
Now, what do you think of the rivalry between the UFC and Bellator? But does it bug you that fans are either pro Bellator and they don't like the UFC, or they're pro UFC and they don't think anything of Bellator? Does that seem silly or anything to you?
No, I mean it's part of the business. I think it's part of everything. It's always going to be this little tension between different organizations in any area of business. So it doesn't really bother me. What really gets at me is like the argument that's made for the UFC being better than Bellator or whatnot. I feel like a lot of people have this idea if you get with the UFC, you have some sort of like superpower or something, like it just makes you incredible or something. But this isn't the case, you know. And I think that would be the one thing I get a little frustrated with. And the people who are jumping on and being fans of Bellator, I really appreciate them also. But I think they're also being very closed-minded. I think as a whole, we should be focused on the sport, mixed martial arts, because mixed martial arts hasn't been around as long as like the NFL or NBA or baseball or different things like that. And this is an opportunity to introduce something to the people that is something fresh, something brand new, not just boxing, it's not just wrestling, not just a jiu-jitsu competition. It's a whole different organism itself. It's just built up of different parts, different characters, different personalities, all of these different things that you could take advantage of if you were to take different pieces from all over the place. Like you take a little bit of what the UFC is doing, you take a little bit of what Bellator is doing, and everybody's trading shots, you know, and then, you know, you start to build something that's huge. But at the same time, the two organizations have to make their money. They have to do what they have to do to be number one, and nobody wants to just be tied. We're not about that in America. It has to be a number one, it has to be a number two. And right now, Bellator and the UFC are fighting for number one, and I think Bellator is doing a very, very good job with putting itself in a position to take over that number one spot. I really like what direction they're going in. There's a very positive vibe going on. I love being part of something that's positive, you know, and that's what I want to do. I think I've hit my perfect timing to be a part of it, you know, and especially coming in, getting a title, and then now getting promoted the way I'm getting promoted. But so for me personally, it's just being able to do stuff like this, come to the office and hang out with people and get to know all these different people and really be deep-rooted in the organization and what they're doing now. So that's my goal right now, and of course to keep my belt, of course, you know. Like, so that's also always a goal, you know. And but for me, it's just to keep doing what I'm doing and keep evolving and being open-minded to everything that's going on. And I think that's something that's going to be pretty easy for me based off the people that I keep around me, you know.